It's a winter evening in 1959, Omaha, Nebraska. A 29-year-old Warren Buffett walks into a dinner party, probably expecting the usual small talk about the weather or the local football team. Instead, he meets a 35-year-old lawyer named Charlie Munger. By the end of the night, these two guys are literally rolling on the floor, laughing at each other's jokes, while everyone else just stares in confusion. That chance encounter, it changed the investing world forever. Hey there, I'm Lei, and welcome to another episode where we dive deep into the books and ideas that can transform how you think about money, success, and life itself. Today, we're talking about one of the most influential partnerships in business history and the brilliant mind that most people have never heard of. You know Warren Buffett as the Oracle of Omaha, right? But here's what most people don't know. Behind every great investor stands another great mind. And in Buffett's case, that mind belongs to Charlie Munger, the man who taught Warren to stop hunting for bargains and start buying exceptional businesses. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly how Charlie's unconventional thinking can revolutionize your own decision-making. Whether you're investing your first $1,000 or just trying to make smarter choices in everyday life. We're diving into Poor Charlie's Almanac, the definitive collection of wisdom from the guy Buffett calls his most important business partner. So grab your coffee and let's meet the silent genius who quietly built an empire. All right, so who exactly is Charlie Munger? Here's what I love about his story. He wasn't born into wealth or privilege. Charlie Munger was born on New Year's Day, 1924, in Omaha, Nebraska. Same heartland that produced Harry Truman, Walt Disney, and yes, Warren Buffett. But here's the fascinating part. As a teenager, Charlie actually worked at a grocery store called Buffett and Son. That's right, Warren Buffett's grandfather's store. These two future billionaires were connected decades before they even met. Sometimes the universe has a sense of humor, doesn't it? Now, Charlie wasn't your typical high achiever. After serving in World War II, he did something pretty audacious. He got into Harvard Law School without even finishing his undergraduate degree. Think about that for a second. Harvard Law School, no bachelor's degree. That takes some serious intellectual firepower. He graduated magna cum laude and started a law firm in Los Angeles. But here's what made Charlie different from every other successful lawyer. He never fell in love with being a lawyer. As he put it, I had an opinionated personality and a desire to get resources permitting independence. Translation: he saw law as a means to an end, not the end itself. He was already thinking like an investor, using his legal practice to build the capital that would give him freedom to do what he really wanted. And when he left his law firm in 1965, Charlie did something that perfectly captures his character. Instead of taking his share of the firm's capital, we're talking serious money here, he directed it all to the estate of his young partner who had died of cancer, leaving behind a wife and children. That tells you everything you need to know about Charlie Munger's values. This isn't just about making money, it's about doing the right thing even when nobody's watching. So let's go back to that dinner party in 1959. Warren Buffett later said, sometime during the evening, when Charlie started rolling on the floor, laughing at his own jokes, I knew I had met a kindred spirit. Can you imagine being a fly on the wall for that conversation? Two of the greatest business minds in history, just talking and laughing and probably having no idea they were about to change the investing world. What's beautiful about their partnership is how it evolved. This wasn't some formal business arrangement with contracts and legal documents. It was sealed with a handshake between two Midwesterners who understood that a person's word meant something. But here's where it gets really interesting. Charlie didn't just become Warren's business partner. He became his teacher, and what he taught Warren transformed everything. Before meeting Charlie, Warren was a pure disciple of Benjamin Graham, the father of value investing. Graham's approach was all about finding what he called cigar butt stocks, companies trading below their asset value, where you could get one free puff before they went out of business. Charlie had a different perspective. He understood that a great business at a fair price is superior to a fair business at a great price. Now, That might sound like just clever wordplay, but this was actually a fundamental shift in thinking about what creates lasting wealth. Think about it this way. Would you rather buy a decent car for 50% off or pay full price for a Tesla that's going to keep getting better through software updates? Charlie helped Warren see that exceptional businesses, the ones with real competitive advantages, will compound your wealth over time in ways that cheap, mediocre businesses never can. Warren himself admits, "Charlie understood this early. I was a slow learner. Charlie helped me move from pure Benjamin Graham-style investing to focusing on great businesses." And this shift, it's what turned Berkshire Hathaway from a small investment partnership into one of the most valuable companies in the world. Now, let's talk about the investment philosophy that actually built this empire, because Charlie's approach flies in the face of everything Wall Street tells you to do. First principle, extreme concentration over diversification. While every financial advisor in America is preaching diversification, Charlie believes a portfolio of 3 companies is plenty of diversification. He's willing to put uncommonly high percentages of his capital into individual opportunities when he finds the right ones. Now, before you panic and think this is reckless gambling, listen to his reasoning. Charlie and Warren believe that a successful investment career comes down to only a handful of really great decisions. As Charlie puts it, you're paying less to brokers, you're listening to less nonsense, and if it works, the tax system gives you an extra 1, 2, or 3 percentage points per annum. Think about that. By focusing on your best ideas, instead of spreading yourself thin, you're saving on fees, avoiding noise, and keeping more of your returns. It's brilliant in its simplicity. But here's the key, and this is where most people mess up. You have to actually know what you're doing. Charlie uses Ted Williams' approach to hitting as an analogy. Williams divided the strike zone into 77 cells and would only swing at balls in his absolute best cells, even if it meant striking out more often. In investing terms, this means waiting for what Charlie calls fat pitches, opportunities that are clearly in your sweet spot. Most investors feel pressure to always be doing something, but Charlie's approach is what he calls sit on your ass investing. Wait for the right opportunity, then bet big when you find it. The third pillar of their philosophy is understanding competitive advantages, what Charlie calls moats. Most companies face what he calls competitive destruction, forces that siege them over time. Technology changes, new competitors emerge, customer preferences shift. But some businesses have deep, widening moats that protect them from these forces. Think about Coca-Cola, Charlie and Warren's most famous investment. What's Coke's moat? It's not just the secret formula, it's decades of brand building, global distribution networks, and the simple fact that when you want a Coke, nothing else will do. That's a moat. But here's where Charlie Munger really became revolutionary. He was one of the first investors to seriously study psychology and human behavior. Decades before behavioral economics became a thing, Charlie was figuring out why people make terrible decisions and how to avoid those mistakes. Charlie identified 25 specific patterns of human misjudgment. These aren't abstract theories. These are practical insights you can use every single day. Let me give you a few that will blow your mind. First, reward and punishment, super response tendency. People respond more strongly to incentives than almost anything else. Charlie puts it perfectly. Never ever think about something else when you should be thinking about the power of incentives. Everyday example. If your teenager isn't cleaning their room, don't just keep asking. Change the incentive structure. Make their allowance contingent on completion, or tie room cleanliness to smartphone privileges. Boom, problem solved. Second, social proof tendency. People look to others' behavior to guide their own actions, especially when they're uncertain. This explains everything from fashion trends to financial bubbles. When everyone seems to be buying cryptocurrency or flipping houses, social proof creates this powerful pressure to join the crowd. But here's Charlie's genius insight. These psychological tendencies don't operate alone. They combine and reinforce each other to create what he calls Lollapalooza effects. Historical example: the Dutch tulip bubble of the 1630s. Why did rational people pay more for a tulip bulb than they'd pay for a house? Multiple psychological forces working together. Social proof: everyone was buying. Authority influence: respected merchants were promoting them. Commitment consistency: people who bought early had to justify their decisions. And envy: fear of missing out. Understanding this stuff isn't just interesting, it's practical. It helps you recognize when you're about to make an emotional decision disguised as a logical one. Charlie tells this amazing story about Captain Cook and sauerkraut. Cook knew sauerkraut prevented scurvy, but his sailors refused to eat it. So what did he do? He served sauerkraut only to the officers and made it seem like a privilege reserved for higher ranks. Social proof and envy kicked in, and soon all the sailors were demanding their share. That's applied psychology right there. Understanding how people think, including how you think, gives you a massive advantage in business and life. Now, probably the most practical thing Charlie teaches is his concept of mental models. This is a game changer for how you approach any complex decision. Traditional education teaches subjects in isolation. You study math in math class, psychology in psychology class, history in history class. But real-world problems don't respect academic boundaries. They require insights from multiple disciplines working together. Charlie advocates building what he calls a lattice work of knowledge that spans different fields. You want to collect the fundamental principles from physics, psychology, mathematics, economics, biology, and history, and learn to use them together. Here's a perfect example. When Coca-Cola was just getting started, multiple mental models could have predicted its success. The psychology of human habit, the economics of network effects, the power of brand loyalty, and the mathematics of compound returns, all working together. Or think about this from your own life. Say you're evaluating a job offer. Most people just look at the salary and benefits. But if you're using Charlie's mental models, you're asking deeper questions. From psychology, what are the incentive structures? How do people actually get promoted here? From economics, is this industry growing or declining? What are the competitive dynamics? From biology, is this a healthy organizational culture, or is there something toxic that will wear you down over time? From mathematics, what are the compound effects of being in this role for 5 years versus being somewhere else? See how much richer that analysis becomes when you're pulling insights from multiple disciplines. Charlie also emphasizes the power of inversion, working backward from what you want to avoid. Instead of just asking, how can I be successful in my career? Also ask, what are all the ways I could destroy my career? This helps you avoid obvious pitfalls while pursuing positive goals. And here's something most people miss. Charlie advocates for systematic thinking through checklists. Pilots use checklists not because they're incompetent, but because human memory is unreliable under pressure. Create checklists for important life decisions, choosing where to live, evaluating relationships, making major purchases. But here's what I think is Charlie's most important insight. Investment success, and really any kind of lasting success, is ultimately a byproduct of good character and clear thinking. Charlie talks about making friends with the eminent dead, learning from history's greatest thinkers and achievers. He particularly recommends studying Benjamin Franklin, who he considers the ideal model of worldly wisdom. What does good character look like in practice? First, intellectual honesty. Face reality as it is, not as you wish it were. Charlie and Warren's willingness to admit mistakes and change their minds when presented with new evidence has been crucial to their success. Most people have way too much ego invested in being right, but Charlie understands that being right matters more than looking right. When you're wrong about something, and everyone is wrong sometimes, the question is, do you double down and defend your position, or do you update your thinking based on new information? Second, learn from others' mistakes. As Charlie puts it, It is remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us have gotten by trying to be consistently not stupid instead of trying to be very intelligent. Think about that. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just have to avoid the obvious mistakes that trip up most people. Study the spectacular failures in business and life and make sure you don't repeat them. Third, practice delayed gratification. Real wealth building, whether financial or otherwise, requires patience and the ability to defer immediate pleasures for long-term gains. This applies to everything from saving money to building skills to developing relationships. And finally, choose your influences carefully. Charlie is famous for being a learning machine, constantly reading and absorbing new ideas across multiple disciplines. He's still learning and growing in his 90s. In a world that changes as fast as ours does, the ability to adapt and acquire new knowledge might be the most valuable skill of all. So here's what I want you to take away from Charlie Munger's story. True wisdom isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions, learning from mistakes, and remaining humble enough to change your mind when evidence demands it. In a world that often rewards quick thinking and confident predictions, Charlie Munger shows us the power of slow, careful thought and the courage to say, "I don't know," when we don't know. Here's your action plan. This week, pick one important decision you need to make. Apply Charlie's inversion thinking. Don't just think about what you want to achieve, think about what you want to avoid. Create a simple checklist that includes insights from multiple disciplines, not just your area of expertise. This month, start building your own mental models. Pick one discipline outside your comfort zone and start learning the fundamental principles. Read a biography of someone you admire. Most importantly, start keeping a mistakes journal. Write down when you make poor decisions and figure out which psychological tendencies led you astray. Remember, Charlie and Warren built their empire one good decision at a time, over decades. You don't need to get rich quick. You need to get rich smart. And that starts with thinking like Charlie Munger. Want to dive deeper into this? Head over to bullishbooks.com where you'll find the full article with all the details we couldn't cover today, plus Charlie's complete reading list to start building your own lattice work of knowledge. And hey, if this episode helped you see something in a new way, share it with someone who could use some Charlie Munger wisdom in their life. That's how good ideas spread, one conversation at a time. I'm Lay, and I'll catch you next time when we explore another book that can change how you think about money, success, and life itself.